So, argumentation abusers often put their victims in a position where they feel disempowered and unable to articulate their position. There are so many things in this world to make decisions on that you cannot know everything about everything. So there are going to be a couple of topics that we may like deep dive on, do research, look up information. Like we really care about the topic. We know the ins and outs. This is very important to us. And so we can argue our position on those topics. But then there are like other topics that are like they're still important, but we've weighted them underneath these topics in terms of like what do I personally need to do to make a determination on this issue. So like vaccines would be an excellent example. Many of us are not chemistry majors or biology majors or doctors, so when they're talking about, mRNA vaccines and how they differ from like the old model and, but there's this like mechanism, et cetera, and that's what makes it able to do XYZ. Like most of us are like, okay, we're going to take a shortcut here. We're going to respect the people that care a lot about this topic and are experts in that field who've made a determination. And we say, okay, I'm going to go with what the experts say. And then that's a shortcut. But then the problem is, let's say you have somebody comes along who's an anti-vaxxer, conspiracy theorist. They're calling it like, I don't know, a pandemic or something. And so you don't know how to answer those arguments because this is not a topic in which you are an expert and you haven't devoted a lot of time and research to essentially knowing the ins and outs of the arguments. But you've got somebody who's like, coming at you. And so you get in a position where you feel like disempowered and trying to argue your perspective and they're acting as if you relying on experts is a bad thing, which it may be, it may not be. It depends on the issue, quite frankly. Like I would not categorically say doing one way or the other is good or bad. And so, when we're having these interactions with people, first of all, you want to clock the argumentation people. They're exhausting. Like who wants to do that? Most people find that enervating, not energizing. Somebody who's energized by an argument is either a litigator, right? Like we've locked in on the argument. We're a litigator. Or they're like a troll and they just enjoy. So where like a litigator enjoys the argument of it all. A troll enjoys upsetting people and getting that reaction. They don't care about the argument at all. And then there's like a third category of asshole where they want to make you feel stupid. They enjoy that. That makes them feel smart, which honestly, if you think about it logically, one does not follow from the other. But they're not that self-aware anyway, a lot of the time. So when you find somebody who enjoys argument and you are not an argumentation person, you should stay away from that person. They are not going to be a person that is going to be like a good person for you. Unless, of course, they're not, I wouldn't say stay away from the litigators necessarily, but a lot of them aren't great in relationships. It's that weird thing of, lawyers or therapists, they have like a certain set of skills. And if they're not very ethical people, they can turn those skills on their partners, and you shouldn't. When you're in a relationship, whether it's with a parent or a romantic partner or like a friend, the relationship should not be built on powering over another person. And it definitely shouldn't be built on powering over another person in an argument. And another thing, one of these argumentation people, they don't seem to understand. They act as if the argument itself has a true and a false answer. And I'm going to tell you something. That's not correct. I know people like thinking that way because we're in like a social media era. And so we all have like these very firm opinions on stuff. I'm going to tell you what, that's not true. Most things in this world, you're going to have a pro and a con side. And there's going to be valid points on the pro side, valid points on the con side. There's going to be valid value sets on each side. And so you can see these discussions. You can see them at the low information level, like low information, sometimes low intellectual level. You can see them at the mid level. You can see them at the expert level. And so, I don't go to Facebook or TikTok. Those are low information discussions on topics that are extremely nuanced. And people feel very strongly about things they are not well informed on, and they don't have the self-awareness to recognize that they're not well informed. I like the higher level arguments. Those discussions tend to involve people who are qualifying their information. It's often very educational because you have to put it in context. And then they are talking about permutations, iterations, caveats. They're giving you not just an opinion or perspective, but they're giving you the environment for that perspective. And when you have two people who are doing that, it's no longer this like slap fight over I'm better, smarter, writer. We're now having like an in-depth discussion on the nature of the world and human beings, right? Isn't that a lot more interesting? And those upper level discussions are not power debates. Like your lower and your mid discussions tend to be like those power debates. I'm trying to power over you with information, or I'm trying to power over you with, your own claims or something like that. Your upper level discussions are more academic even, or Socratic. They're more like, okay, let's talk about this like in general. And I think this, and okay, well, I see why you think this, and here's what I think in response. The dynamic is very different. Very rarely do you see a higher level debate in a confrontational way, because the objectives are totally different. So when you are dealing with someone who's like this, one, remember, just because they have an opinion doesn't make it the right one. And just because you can't appropriately respond to it in a debate sense doesn't mean that you're wrong. All it means is that maybe you don't have as much information on this position that you have, or maybe you're not good under pressure, or maybe you're dealing with somebody who's being psychologically dominating, and you don't have that kind of mindset. Like, not everybody does. We are all different people. We all thrive in different areas. There is a place for, someone who's very strong-minded, right? Like, you get that person pointed in the right direction, like you want them on your team. But not if everybody's like that, our society doesn't work, So some of us, maybe we're not like that. And there's, we're the ones that like build community. Like, that's also important. Anyway, so just for every argument, even on the upper echelon, there's going to be smart people on both sides, right? There's going to be smart people with valid perspectives and opinions on both sides. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong. And also, you don't want to be in intimate relationships with people like that. And I don't mean intimate as in romantic. I mean intimate as just in like close to you. Like, sure, maybe have them in your periphery, friend of a friend, whatever. But you do not want to make yourself vulnerable to this person, because they're just going to take that information and then use it against you when it's to their benefit, right? Like someone who's trying to win, no, run, absolutely run, right? A relationship is not a power struggle for healthy, normal people. Anyone who sees it that way is not a safe person to be in a relationship with. Anyway, I hope this makes sense, and I'll talk to you next time.